Good evening, everyone. Welcome to day 5 of C programming course. So, in the last lecture, I have given you one programming assignment which you have to submit it on or before 19th of this month. So, I'm resending the link. If you have not taken down this link, I have sent it in the chat box. Preserve that link and attempt your quiz, which is an assignment, and submit it on or before 19th.
Hello, Bhaiya.
Yes.
I have a doubt related that one question
Okay,
to
ask
that
me.
assignment.
Huh.
The uh, data byte means how much the long double occupies? 10 byte, na?
It will occupy 12 bytes.
It is, I think, 10 byte.
Yes, it is 10 bytes into PPT.
Yeah, and
Okay, let me just check.
in Google Form it is 12 byte.
Okay, I'll just check. Okay, I'll let you know that in a few minutes. Now we'll start our today's session.
Okay.
So the topic for today is unit number 3, that is operators in C language. So an operator is a symbol which will tell the compiler that we want to perform a specific mathematical or logical function. So now an expression is a combination of operators and operands. Operator can be plus, minus, division, multiplication, and many other operators, greater than, less than, shifting operators, and so on, which we will see in today's session. As well as we have certain operands. Operand is nothing but a value or some data. Like suppose you store the value 5 in a variable A, then 5 is an operand, and that value 5 you can access using that variable A. So wherever you use A, the value of A is 5. So you can access the value 5. So there are different types of operators, such as arithmetic operators, relational operators. Do you know another name for relational operators? It is comparison operator. Now, logical operators, bitwise operators, assignment operators, and some other operators as well. So now we'll see them one by one. Before that, I want to ask you one small question. Last time we have seen global, local, and static variables. So a static variable can be accessed only within a particular function, and the reinitialization of static variable is ignored. So I cannot access that same value which is stored in a static variable. That value I cannot access in another function. But can you suggest me any idea using which I can access a static value from some other function? Do you have any idea how can we do it? Okay.
Return function.
Okay, you can return. Yes, that is one good answer. Any other? Okay, so we'll see now using the types of variables like local, static, and global. Since we have not studied functions till now, I'm not going for the approach of returning a value, but there is another approach where you can create a global variable, suppose g. Then within the function, what you can do is you can initialize g to a. So what happens? The static value will get stored in which variable? G. Variable, you can access it throughout the function. And what is the value of g? The value is a static value, that is a. So now if you store the static value in g, you can access that g in some other function also. Suppose I'm printing the value of g over here. What I'll use %d. Now you have to print the value of g, so I'm giving the variable g. You can give another message like g equal to whichever its value is. So let us run this program and let us see whether we can access g from main. So as you can see here, a is 10 and g is also 10. Now the output has come on a single line. How can we bring it on two different lines? Can you tell me?
/n
/n.
Yes, very good. Yeah, where I have to use /n? Can you tell me?
before
Before G.
Before
double
G.
inverted commas.
Yeah.
No, within double quotation and
Before G.
before G. Yes. So before G, and you will get the output. Okay. So this was the way how you can access static outside the function, how using global variables. So now let's get back to our topic. Arithmetic operators. We will start off with the first type of operators. So in arithmetic operator, assume a variable. For now, you assume the a variable a which holds the value 10. You assume a variable b which holds the value 20. Now using a and b, we will perform certain arithmetic operations. See the first one, addition. So a plus b, 10 plus 20, you'll get 30. Similarly, subtraction, a minus b. That is, you're getting negative because a is holding 10, b is holding 20. So 10 minus 20 minus 10. For multiplication, you have to use asterisk. And for division, you have to use /. Then this is modulus operator, or you can call it percentage operator, where you can gain the remainder of a particular division. If you use /, the output of this statement is nothing but your quotient. If you use modulus operator, the output of this statement will be the remainder of that particular division. Then you have increments. For increment, in C++, C language, Java, you can use 2 times plus operator. For decrement, that is decreasing a value, 2 times minus operator. So how it happens, if you write a plus plus, then 10 will become 11. If you write a minus minus, 10 will become 9. So these are few of the arithmetic operators in C language. Have you understood these?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now we'll execute a program for each of these operators. So can you tell me first line what I have to write? I've opened a new blank file. What should be my first line in the program?
Declare the variables.
Include
Uh,
studio.
Hash.
Include
yes. Hash
studio it
include.
Header file.
Yes, header files. These are your linking sections, stdio.h. Now, what should be my next statement? Main function. So either I write int main, because I don't want any global value or anything. So directly come to your main function. Now, if you can write int main, and since you're writing int, means int is what? Return type of the function main. So since it is integer, you have to return some integer value, 0, 1, 2, whatever it can be. So you have to use return statement. So just for demonstration, this is your hello world program. So what will be the output? Hello world. Now you can write it int main, or you can use another way, void main. Now void main means you are not returning anything. Since it is void, you have to not return. So this statement should not be written. There is no return statement. Let's see if this program runs. Just a minute. Yeah. So it's working. You're getting the output hello world. Now there is one more function, predefined function, getch. So what this function does is it will hold the output screen until the user taps any key. Now you can include a header file hash include conio.h means console input output. Within this header file, getch is defined. Now, certain compilers, if you don't include conio.h and you use getch, it will work. But certain compilers like Turbo C, you must include hash include conio.h. So what happens when you give getch? As you can see, hello world has only come. After that, nothing has come. But if I click anything on my keyboard, then the program will get terminated. So if I don't use getch, let's see what happens. As you can see, after hello world, this dash line is coming and then it's coming. Process exited after so many seconds means these number of seconds the program took to get compiled and executed. And then with return value, some value. So if we don't give getch, you directly come out of the program. Its execution is terminated. But suppose you give getch, what happens? Only a output can be seen that process exited line has gone unless you click anything on your keyboard. You press any key. Suppose I press any key you can press, then only the program will get terminated. Have you understood this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Now we will see our program. So in C++, if you are using a dev C++ compiler, that is GCC compiler, then you must usually return a value. So now, if I want to print a plus b value, so what I will do is first I'll create a variable int a, I'll store value 2, I say int b, I store value 3. So I want to print a plus b. Now a plus b is again an integer. So I'll use %d, comma, either you write a plus b or what you do, first you create another variable int sum. And for sum, what value you'll assign? A plus b. And within your print, you will display the value of sum. Either you can store the result in another variable and display the value of that variable, or simply you have to write a plus b. So both the approaches will work. If you want to save time, you can directly print a plus b. So let us see what is the output. So as you can see, we are getting the answer 5. 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. Now you can do multiplication, division, whatever you want. Now suppose I don't want to use these variables a and b. I have another option. What I can do is I can write 2 plus 3. This will also work. 2 plus 3 output is 5, as you can see. So either you write the data directly and add it, or you store it in variables and do it. Everything is the same. So suppose I want to do, so we have seen here increment, decrement. We have to see that now. Just a minute. Yeah, so division, let's try division now. 2 divided by 3. Now the output, as you can see, is 0 because I've used %d. %d is used for integer, displaying integers. Now suppose I want to use the variables a equal to 2, b equal to 3. I'm using %d, so I will definitely get 0 if I do a upon b. Suppose I use %f, means I want to display a number in the form of float, means decimal number. Let's see what happens. it will come 0.0000. Now this happens because A is integer, B is also integer. So the compiler will give you an integer result. A upon B is not necessary, it is always an integer. Suppose you do 10 upon 5, then the answer is 2. That is an integer. So you'll get 2 correctly if you use %d. If you use %f, also you'll get 2.0. But A is an integer, B is an integer. A upon B, that result will also come as an integer. So you're getting 0.00% f. So what you have to do, you have to do float A, float B, and then you use %f and you do A upon B. Let's see what will happen. So you're getting the actual answer, that is 0.6666. And why you're getting only 6 digits after decimal point? Because that is the default number of digits that you'll get if you're using decimal arithmetic. So now, suppose this is int A, and suppose this is int B, and I'm using %f. What will be the answer? It will be 0.000. But I want a float answer. So if I write float within brackets before A upon B, let's see what happens. See, now you're getting 0.66667. So what is this called? I'll write this again. See, integer A equal to 2, integer B equal to 3. But I'm getting the answer as 0.0000. Why? Because A and B are integers. Their division result is also an integer. If you use %d, you'll get 0. If you use %f, you'll get 0.000. So either you make int as float over here, that means float A and float B you have to use, you have to change the data type, or only the data type of the result you can change. How to do that? This is called type casting or type conversion. You are converting the data type from one type to another type. This is called type casting. So what I want a decimal, means floating point value. So within brackets, I have to write float, and after that I can write A divided by B. If you want, you can write A divided by B also within brackets. So now what will be the answer? 0.6666. Just a minute. So you're getting 0.6666. So these are the two alternatives. Either make float A, float B, or do typecasting. Have you understood it till this point?
Yes.
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 Okay. So we have seen addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. Now next we'll try the remainder, that is modulus sign. So for easier values, I'll take 10 and 5. So I'll do A divided by B will give me what? Quotient. So 10 divided by 5, I'll get 2. But I want remainder. So I'll do A modulus B. So if you give %f, you'll get the answer in decimal, that is 0.000. Correct. Remainder will be 0. 10 is completely divisible by 5. If you write %d, you'll get only 0. Okay. And suppose you use %i. So that time also it is I is also for integers only. So we have seen the remainder operator also. Now let's see increment and decrement. So increment is nothing but increasing a particular value. Increment means you have to increase a particular value. So you can do it using plus plus. Now there are two types of increment, pre-increment and post-increment. So that is the types of increment. In decrement, what you have to do? 2 times minus operator. Again, there are two types of decrement. One is pre-decrement and the other is post-decrement. So let us see what is the meaning of pre and post. Here, for example, plus plus x. If you write plus plus before the variable, or if you write plus plus before the value, then it is called pre-increment. Similarly, if you write plus plus after the variable, or after the value, then it is known as post increment. See here, x plus plus is post increment and plus plus x is pre increment. Now decrement. So minus minus x is pre decrement, x minus minus is post decrement. So what is the difference between pre and post increment or decrement? Pre and post don't mean the same thing. There is a slight difference that we will see using a program. So as you can see, I've already written a program, and the same program is available in the PPTs. So int a equal to 10, int b equal to 4, and res is a variable in which I'll store the result after increment or after decrement. So suppose you do a plus plus. If you're doing a plus plus, then it is what, pre or post? Can you tell me?
Post.
Yes, post increment. So in post increment, what happens? The increment takes place afterwards. If increment takes place afterwards, what happens before increment? Suppose you use res equal to a plus plus, then the current value of a, suppose a is equal to 10, a is equal to 10. So that value 10 will get assigned to res, and then 10 will become 11 and will get stored in a. I repeat, a is currently 10, that 10 will get stored in res variable, then 10 becomes 11 and it gets stored in a. So what happens? res has 10 and now a has 11. So let us print a, the value of a and the value of res, and check what happens. So pay attention only to the first line of the output. See, as I told you, res is 10 and a is 11. That means first res has been assigned the value of a, not of a plus plus. Res has been assigned the value of 10, and then a has become 11. How? By a plus plus. So post increment, afterwards the increment will take place. First the other operations, then the increment. Then let us see what is pre-increment. Pre-increment means what? First the increment will take place, then all the other operations will take place. So first what will happen? A plus plus will happen, means a will get incremented. Plus plus a means 10 will become 11 and 11 will get stored in a. And that value 11 will get stored in res. That means first increment takes place, 10 becomes 11, 11 is stored in a. That value of a is assigned to res. So let us see what is the second line of output. So a, I'm printing the value of a before the increment. So it is 10, and then res is becoming the value a plus. Just a minute. See the third line of code. A is 11 and res is also 11. I'll just comment out the other parts so that you'll understand better. See here, res is equal to a plus plus means what? First res will get assigned the value a, and then a will become a plus plus. So res is getting 10 and then a is becoming 11. Whereas in pre-increment, a will become 11 first, and then that value will get stored in res. So a is becoming 11 first, and then a plus plus is getting stored in res. So res is also 11. So we'll see it again in our program with only the required lines. So first line is for pre-increment. So just a minute. So as you can see here, a has become 11 and that 11 has got stored in res. Have you understood?
Yes.
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 Okay. Now let us see what is post decrement. So just like post increment, what will happen in post decrement? First, the other operations will take place, like assigning the value. Then the decrement will happen. So first what will happen? Res will get stored, will get the value of a, and then a minus minus will happen. Similarly, for pre-decrement, first the decrement will happen. Why first? Because pre-decrement. So first the decrement will happen, and then the decremented value will get assigned to RES. So let us run our program and see. So what should happen here? RES, what is the value of RES? Can you tell me?
10.
Okay.
And A is equal to 9.
Yes, you are correct. So RES is 10 and A is 9. So first RES is getting the value of A, and then A is becoming lesser by 1. So RES is 10 and A is 9. Similarly, in pre-decrement, so first what will happen? The decrement, that is minus minus will happen. So A will become 9, and that 9 will get stored in RES. So RES is 9 and A is also 9, as you can see. Have you understood pre and post increment decrement?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there any doubt?
No.
What about others?
No. No.
No.
No.
Okay. Now our next operator, that same program is available here. You can see it when I share the PPTs. So relational operators. Now relation means you're trying to find how is one value related to another value. Means what? You're comparing two values. How you can compare in terms of whether the two values are equal, whether one value is greater than the other value, whether one value is lesser than the other value, or one value is not equal to the other value. So that you can find using the comparison operators. So first is double equal to sign, means it checks if the values are equal or not. So A equal to B. Suppose A is 10 and B is 12. They are not equal. So it is not true. Then exclamation mark with single equal to sign means not equal to. A is 10, B is 20. So they are not equal. So A not equal to B, this evaluates to true. Means suppose you print the value of A not equal to B, the output will be, what will be the output? 1. 1 because it is true. Similarly, if A is greater than B, then you'll get the answer true or false depending on values of A and B. A is 10, 10 is greater than 20? No. So it is not true. But A is less than 20, means 10 is less than 20. That means it is true. So similar to greater than equal to, you can also have less than equal to. So greater than equal to means what? Suppose A is 10, B is 10, then they are equal. So this will return true. But suppose A is 20, B is 10, A is greater than B, 20 is less than 10, then it will return false. Means A is less than 20 and B is greater than 10. So it will return true. Less than B. What will be the output? Can you tell me? 10 is less than 20. What will be the output?
1. True.
Yes, it will be true. That is, you'll get 1. So as you can see, we have the value 1. Now if I do A is greater than B, this will be 0,
0.
as you can see. Yes, correct. Now, suppose I make greater than equal to means what? 10 is greater than 20, false. 10 is equal to 20, that is also false. So this will return false, means 0, because I'm using %d. Now, suppose I use A is less than or equal to B. 10 is less than or equal to 20. So what happens? 10 is less than 20, true. 10 is equal to 20, false. But you are checking two conditions here. Less than ka condition also you are checking, and whether it is equal, that also you are checking. So here less than condition is satisfied, so it returns true. So you're getting 1 at the output. Suppose both are equal to 10. Then A equal to B is true, A less than B is false. So one condition is satisfied, that is true, you will get 1. Now our next operator is logical operators. Are you aware about logic gates?
Yes.
Okay,
And
so
or
Yes.
gates.
yes, correct, very correct. So in logic gates also, that is a part of digital electronics, where you can have AND operation, you can have OR operation, you can have NOT operation, XOR, XNOR, and there are many operations. For now, in logical operations, we are going to see AND, OR, and NOT. So AND, how you have to write AND? In Python, how do you write AND? Can you tell me?
Ampersand.
No, in Python, you don't use
Simply
ampersand
and
for AND. You have to just write
simply and.
within lowercase a and d.
Yes.
Yes. Am I correct?
Yes.
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 Okay. Yeah. So in C, C++, what you can do is you have to write 2 times ampersand. See, in logical operations, you have to write 2 times and, means ampersand. For or, what you have to use? This symbol, what you can see, it is called as pipe symbol. I'll just write it here. This single vertical line is called as pipe. PIP. And this
Your voice is not
ampersand.
audible.
Okay.
Audible.
It's clear.
Okay. Okay. So this single vertical line is pipe, and this is called ampersand. AMPERSAND. So for and, you have to give 2 times ampersand, for or 2 times 2 vertical lines, and not is a single exclamation line. So let us see this directly in our program. So suppose A is 1 and B is 0, and I want to find the AND operation between them. So what I'll do, 2 times ampersand. So A ampersand ampersand B. So 1 and 0, it will be 0, because, just a minute. So as you can see here, this is called as truth table. So in the truth table, as you can see, P is equal to 0, Q is equal to 0. So 0 and 0 is 0, 0 and 1 is 0, 1 and 1 is 1, and 1 and 0 is 0. So from this table, I can understand that when both the inputs are 1, when both the inputs are true, only that time P and Q will give me true. Similarly, for OR operation, here both are 0, here Q is 1, here P is 1, and Q is also 1, and here only P is 1. So when any of the inputs is 1, or if both the inputs is 1, then what happens? OR operation will give you 1, as you can see here. So if P and Q both are 0, only that time you will get 0. If either of the inputs is 1, you will get output 1. This is known as inclusive OR. Means when both the inputs are also 1, 1, that time also you'll get 1. If either of them is 1, that time also you'll get 1 as output. But in XOR, what happens? Similar to OR, when 0, 0, you'll get 0. If it is 0, 1, you'll get 1. But if it is 1, 1, means both the inputs are 1, that time you'll get 0. only one input should be one, means only one input should be true. That is the condition for XOR. So if both the inputs are true, your output is false. If any one input is true, your output is true. If both are false, your output is false. Have you understood AND, OR, and XOR?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
and yes, and for NOT operation, NOT means you're just inverting it. Means suppose you have the value 0. If you write not 0, then it becomes 1. If you write not 1, you get 0. So what is the input number of inputs you need? Just one input. On that single input, you have to apply the not operator. So as we have seen in logical operators, we have AND, that is double ampersand. You have OR, that is 2 times you have to give the pipe, and NOT you have to give only once. So A and B means logical AND. 1 and 0 is 0. As you can see in the output, you are getting 0. If I write 1 and 1, you will get again 1. Now, these were integer data types. 1 stands for true and 0 stands for false. Suppose I give 10 over here for A and I give 20 over here, means I'm not giving 1 and 0. Let's see what happens. So here also you get 1. Why? Because any value except 0 is called as false. It is understood by the compiler as false. So if you have 0, it is considered to be false. If you have number of white spaces, that is also called as false. Okay, so now 10 and 20 both are non-zero values. So the output is true. Suppose I give minus 10. Let's see what happens. Still you get 1 because this minus 10 is a non-zero value. Now suppose I want to use Boolean data type. I'll write bool over here. Here also I'll write bool. So is minus 10 and 20 acceptable here?
No.
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 Okay, yes. And suppose I'm using bool data type, can I use it directly or should I include some header file?
We
Yes,
should
we have to
include
Header
include.
file.
boolean dot. Yes.
Yeah, in C language, you have to include the header file hash include stdbool.h, stdbool.h. Only then you can use Boolean data type in C. In C++, you can use directly. So let's see what happens. So here actually you are getting the value 1. Why? Because in bool also there is automatic type conversion. See, in the previous example, what we did, we wanted the floating point answer. So within brackets, I wrote float and then I wrote A upon B. So that is the case of float. Means that is the user or the programmer. That means you are doing the type conversion. But sometimes the compiler on its own also will do the type conversion. For example, this is Boolean data type, but I'm giving integer value. So the compiler will convert it directly into Boolean. Means you don't have to write within brackets bool. You have to just give your non-zero value or zero value, whatever it is. So within the compiler, A will hold the value true and B will hold the value false. So, sorry, true, because both are non-zero. So true and true is giving me true. So you can use int over here and give integer value. You can use bool over here. You can give integer value. No problem. Now let us try A double pipe means or B. So in this, what happens? Here A is what? Is it true or false? Can you tell me? What is the value of A?
True.
Yes, A is true, B is also true. So true or true will give me true. Here I'm using the percentage, so 1 I'm getting. 1 means true. So if I'm using non-zero value with zero value, so non-zero or 0, it will again give me true. Because any one of the values should be true. If A is true or B is true or both, then you'll get true as your output. But what happens if both are 0? That time what output you'll get? Can you tell me?
False.
False.
Yes, false.
0.
0. Correct. Very correct. So you're getting 0. Now let me try not operator. So not can be used only on a single operand. So not B. You have to give not B. So not B means not 0. Not 0 means 1. So output will be 1. As you can see, not 0 means 1. Suppose B is 1. Not 1 will give 0. So this was your logical operands. Next is your bitwise operand. So bitwise means what? As I told you, high level language is converted into zeros and ones, that is binary language. And binary language the computer can understand. So just for simplicity or for specific applications, if we want to perform the AND or NOT XOR operations, if we want to perform them on single bits, we can use bitwise operators. Now bitwise means, see, you're writing A equal to 60 and you're writing B equal to 13. Now 60 and 13 are your whole numbers or integer numbers. So 60 is converted into zeros and ones, 13 is converted into zeros and ones, and then you can apply bitwise operators on them. So the user, that means you have to not convert them into zeros and ones. The compiler will do it for you. And after it is converted into zeros and ones, the operation will be applied, either and or not, whatever. And then the answer will be again in form of zeros and ones. Suppose you're doing A and B, then it is done on this. 60 and 13 are converted into zeros and ones. On each 0 and 1, the operation is applied. The answer is in the form of zeros and ones. The compiler will convert the answer from binary back to your decimal, that is your 60 and 13. That number system means your result in the form of zeros and ones will again become into some integer value, and that value will be displayed at output. So to explain this concept in a better way, just a minute. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yes. So what I was telling you, suppose you have the value 2. Okay, now how to convert 2 into binary, I'm telling you. You don't have to do it, but how the compiler can represent it. Means manually how the person can do it. So consider this block. I'm creating certain divisions in this block. So in powers of 2, what are the powers of 2? 2 raised to 0. Then you can have 2 raised to 1. You can have 2 raised to 2, 2 raised to 4, and so on. 2 raised to 5, 2 raised to 6, all that you can do. Now 2 raised to 2 means what? It is 1. Anything raised to 0 is 1. 2 raised to 1 is 2. 2 raised to 2 is?
There will be 2 raised to cube.
How much?
2 cube, no? 8, 4,
Sorry, I
2, 1.
missed out 3. Yeah, I'm missed out 3 over here. 2 raised to 3. Just a minute. So 2 raised to 3 is nothing but 8. Okay, after 2 raised to 3, you'll have 2 raised to 4. Then you'll have 2 raised to 5 and so on. 2 raised to 3 is 8. So when you're writing 2, where in this 8421 code, where is 2? 2 is over here. So there you have to write 1. Here you don't have 2. So there you have to write 0. Here what you have? 4. You don't have 2. So you have to write 0. Here you have 8. You don't have 2. So write 0. So 8421 means what? Wherever there is 2, there you have to write 1. Okay. Now suppose you want to represent the value 12. So that time what you'll do, because just a minute. So suppose you want to represent 12. 12 can be written as how? 8 plus 4. So 8 plus 4, why 8 plus 4? Because 8 is available here, 2 raised to 3, and 4 is also available, 2 raised to 2. So wherever you have 8 and 4, there you have to write 1. And the remaining places you have to write 0. So 1100 is the binary equivalent of the decimal number 12. So 12, if you have to write in binary, how you will write 1100. Have you understood this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So actually this is a quick way of converting. The actual method is you have to actually divide by some number, multiply by some number. So that we can see later. This is a quick way of converting. So I'm giving you one, means just now I'm telling you one example how you will represent 14 in binary. Can you tell me?
1110.
Okay, so let's see how it works. So you have 8, 4, 2, 1. So 8 plus 4 is 12 and 4 plus 1 is 13. So here you have to write 1, here you have to write 1, here you have to write 1. So what it is? 1101. Okay, 13 means 8 plus 4 plus 1. So wherever you have 8, 4 and 1, only there you have to write 1 and remaining places 0. So 8, this much I'm expressing in terms of a length of 4. 4 bits you can see here. 1101. How many bits? These are 4. So 4 bits is what? 1 nibble. I've told you already. Okay. So let's see it one more time. So suppose you want to represent the number, say 6. Okay, so you have 8, 4, 2, 1. So how you'll represent 6? 4 plus 2. So 1, 1. And here you have to write 0. So 0110 is 6. Now you have understood how to convert decimal to binary. So now we will try the AND operation bit by bit. So suppose say I have the number 6. I have the number 4. So 6 in binary is what? Can you tell me?
0110.
0110.
Yes, 0, 1, 1, 0. 4 will be 0, 1, 0,
100.
0. Yeah, because 8421 code. Now, if I want to apply the AND operation bitwise, so what I'll do? 0 and 0, answer 0. 1 and 0,
0.
answer 0. 1 and 1, 1.
1.
And 0 and 0, 0.
0.
So 6 and 4, the AND operation on bitwise is 0, 1, 0, 0. So this answer, that is 0, 1, 0, 0, is nothing but 4 in decimal. Okay, now let's try another operation. If I want to try OR operation bitwise, so 6 is what? 0, 1, 1, 0. 4 is what? 0, 1, 0, 0. So 0 or 0 is 0. 1 or 0 is 1. 1 or 1 is 1. And 0 or 0 is 0. So this is 0110, which is nothing but the value 6. Okay, so let's try it in a program now. So suppose I'm using integer data type now. A is suppose 10. Okay, let's try 6 and 4 only for now. 6 and 4. So I want to do A bitwise and B. Whenever you say bitwise operation, you have to write only once ampersand. Okay, in logical AND, you have to use 2 times ampersand. Why? Because there we are not doing any bitwise operation. On the complete value, we are doing AND or not, whatever. But here bitwise, so single time you have to give ampersand. So let's see what is the output here. As you can see, output is 4. Why? Because 6 bitwise and 4 is 4. So what is happening actually? 6 is getting converted into binary, 4 is getting converted into binary, bitwise AND operation is happening. The result is in the form of zeros and ones that is converted back to your integer value, and that output we can see on our screen. Have you understood?
Yes.
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 Okay. So that same example I've given here, you can go through it. So we have seen AND, OR, let's see XOR. So suppose again you have 6 and 4. So 0, 1, 1, 0, and 4 is nothing but 0, 1, 0, 0. Suppose I want to perform XOR operation. Bitwise XOR symbol is caret, means CARAT. This symbol means XOR. Exclamation means what? Not operation. But XOR, you have to use caret. So if I'm doing XOR operation, what is the definition of XOR logic? If A is true or B is true, but not both, only then the output is true. So 0, 0, the output is 0. A is true, so output is true. A is true or B is true, but not both. But here both are true, so output is 0. And again 0, 0, output is 0. So 0, 0, 1, 0 is what in decimal? Can you tell me?
2.
Yes,
2.
very good. So let us see 6 XOR 4 is 2 or not. So I'm using bitwise XOR, means caret symbol. What is the output? Output is 2, as you can see at the output console. This was XOR operation. So at home you can try different types, how it works out. Then if you want NOT operation in XOR, NOT operation in logical sense means you have to give exclamation mark. But bitwise NOT, if you want to do, that time you have to use this tilde symbol. This is called as tilde. So when you want to use bitwise NOT, means 0 will become 1 and 1 will become 0. So suppose 6 in binary is nothing but 0, 1, 1, 0. If I'm writing not 6, means tilde 6, the answer will be 1, 0, 0, 1. And 1, 0, 0, 1 in decimal is what?
9.
Yes, very
Nine.
good. 9. So let us see what is the answer. A is 6 and I'm writing not A, that is not 6. So the answer should be, just a minute. Yeah, so not 6 is 9, but due to the one's complement, that is another concept that we will be seeing. So the answer is -7. Now, our next set of operators are within your bitwise. We have seen AND, we have seen OR, we have seen XOR, and this is one's complement. One's complement means zeros become 1 and 1 become 0. Okay, and the answer is in the form of negative. So a shortcut way for your NOT operation, I'm showing you here. So as you saw, NOT 6 means 0 will become 1 and 1 will become 0. So in decimal, how the conversion will happen is 6 plus 1 is what? 7. And the minus sign gets attached. So the final output after not 6, that is 1's complement, is -7. Means 1's complement of 6 is -7. So that happens due to some concepts which we'll be seeing in future. Now bitwise left shift and bitwise right shift. Left shift and right shift means whatever zeros and ones you have written, they will get shifted towards the left or towards the right. So if you want to shift your value towards the left or towards the right, that time you can use left shift and right shift operators. So suppose you have the value in decimal 6. You want to left shift the value, means first you have to convert it to binary. In binary, 6 means 0, 1, 1, 0. So I'm just drawing a block over here. So the zeros and ones I'm representing in this block. Now left shift means all the zeros and ones will shift by one position towards the left if you're using left shift one time. Means if I'm writing 6, this is your left shift operator, and I'm writing 1. Means what will happen? This 0 will come here, this 1 will come here, this 1 will come here, and this 0 will come here. So 6 left shift by one position, you can write 6 left shift operator 1. Now if I want to do, so what will be the output? It will be 0, 1, 1, 0, 0. So what happens? Just a minute. So it was 0, 1, 1, 0. Now it has become, since 1 by 1 they have come here, it has become 0, 1, 1, 0, 0. And this was our 6 before left shifting. After left shifting, what is the binary equivalent of this number? Can you tell me?
12.
Yes, 12, correct. So after shifting the bits towards the left by one position, 6 has become 12. So let us run our program in a program and see what happens. So A is 6. What I'm doing is A left shift by one position. A 2 times angular bracket you have to give, left angular bracket, and 1. Just a minute. Yeah. So as you can see at the output, you are getting the number 12, which is a decimal number. So what happens internally, as I told you, the decimal number 6 is getting converted into a combination of zeros and ones, that is binary. And those zeros and ones are getting shifted one by one towards the left. So you're getting another combination of zeros and ones, and that is getting again converted into a decimal value or integer value 12. Now let us see what is meant by right shifting. So again, take the number 6. It is 0, 1, 1, 0. So right shift means one by one, these digits will move towards the right. So 0, 1, 1, 0 will become nothing but 0, 1, 1. And 0, 1, 1 in binary is equal to what? Can you tell me?
3.
3.
Correct, 3. So one by one, they are moving right side. So 6 becomes 3. Let us see. So for right shift, you have to give right side angular bracket 2 times. So as you can see, 6 has become 3. Now suppose by 2 places I want to keep shifting them. So what I will do, instead of 1, you have to write A right shift 2. So how it happens? By one position they have shifted. Again they will shift. 0 will come here, 1 will come here. So what will happen? It will become 0, 1. And 0, 1 in binary is what?
1.
1.
1. Correct. So 6 will become 3, 3 will become 1. But we can do it in a single step by right shift 2 times. So let's see what is the output. As you can see, 6 has become 1 after right shifting each bit 2 times towards the right. Have you understood till here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Now assignment, okay, it's time up for today. So I have given you an assignment which you have to submit on or before 19th. That is your first assignment. It has 20 marks. Till now, about 5 people have attempted it. So in the next session, I will give you your score. So I think ma'am has joined our session today. Ma'am, do you want to say anything?
No. Just I came right now at home, and then I saw the link. I thought that I should join
Okay,
it.
ma'am. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
But I saw the response here, that very less response. 45 students enrolled, and from that 45, only 15, 13, 14 are there.
Yes, ma'am.
Why so? Any feedback?
Ma'am, initially they were attending, but then as the sessions were progressing, the numbers becoming less. Maybe exams are coming, so they don't want to attend it.
नो एग्जाम क्या है, ये 1 ही घंटा का है, इतना कुछ नहीं है. ठीक है, जो इंटरेस्टेड है, एवरीवन डू इट वेरी नाइसली, बिकॉज दिस विल गिव यू द बेनिफिट फर्दर. And
Yes.
are you enjoying everyone? Alisha, then Aniruddha, Umakant, Tanmay,
Yes.
Rishikesh, Harshal,
Yes, ma'am.
प्रतीक. आज
Yes,
तो
ma'am.
मन भी नहीं है. किधर गया मन? अपूर्वा, Aniket, Prathamesh, all are enjoying.
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Okay. Yes, anything you want to say, Joel?
If you can put your attendance in the chat box, till then you can ask me any doubts if you want. Name, roll number, and division in your chat box.
I will leave, Joel.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay, chalo, bye.
Yes. Thank you,
Bye
ma'am.
bye all of you.
Bye, ma'am.
Do you have any doubt?
What is the last date for submission of assignment?
Last date is 19th March. That is till 11:59 p.m. You can attempt the quiz.
Okay.
Any other doubt about today's session? Any feedback you want to give me? The speed at which I'm teaching everything is perfect?
Yes.
Yes, perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Has everyone put their attendance in the chat box?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you can leave this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Excuse me.
Yes.
What will be that long double byte occupy
Oh, okay.
space?
Yeah, I'll send the message on the group.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
Welcome. Bye bye.